training, and by training is a dentist.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I speak French too because I lived 12 years in Montreal, Canada. The place of Canada, it's mandatory to speak French. I got my equivalence there in French, and I have been here in Bowling Green. So I moved directly in Montreal to Bowling Green, and I have been here for 9 years, and I'm so happy here. So it's my third immigration. I know about the process. I know about the process, to become immigrant, and additionally to looking for new opportunity in the workforce. So thank you for giving this possibility, to help the community, the new Americans, and the Bowling Green.
We are thrilled to have you. So thank you. One other piece of transition news, and some of you may have seen this on social media, but our executive director for career team, which is our Wioa service provider, Miss Amanda Pettigo, has been selected by career team to take on a new role, National Director of Special Initiatives. So what's going to happen is that there's a job posting out already for her position, for the executive director position. The plan that's in place is that career team will find and we'll get that position hired, but Amanda will stay on and stay through and onboard and mentor that person, really stay through the end of the program year, through the end of June, to kind of see us through closing out our books and closing out our financials. And then Amanda should fully transition in her new role sometime in July after we've closed the books and are on our way into the new program year. And then lastly, we have Jake Brown with us today. Jake Brown joined the career team just in the last week, and he is our newest business service outreach representative. So he's already hit the ground running as well, and so he's going to be that employer representative, that person that's reaching out to employers, determining their needs and determining how we might be able to assist them. Okay, now I'm through, and I will turn it over to Robin for agenda item 2.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me?
Yes.
So appreciate everybody's time and joining us this morning. For those of you all who don't know, my name is Robin Amonette. I am the HR manager with Performance Food Service. Been over here for a little over a month now, so still getting my feet wet over here, but am really enjoying it so far and looking forward to how the Workforce Board and Performance Food Service can partner up and get some help in over here. For those of you all who have been with us previously, you'll recall at our our February board meeting, we voted to approve Trevor Shirley as the interim board chair until the time that the nomination and selection process could take place to appoint a new board chair. So during and following the February 10th board meeting, we solicited for volunteers to serve as the board chair. Then on March 3rd, the nomination committee met to consider the one and only volunteer. Thank you, Treva. She was unanimously endorsed by the nomination committee, which leads us to this agenda item for today. So having been endorsed by the nomination committee, I am now making a motion for the board to officially approve Miss Shirley as our board chair through the remainder of her term.
I'll make the nomination.
Perfect. Who is that?
Chris Boggs.
Thank you, sir.
This is TJ. I'll second.
Perfect. Do I have any against the motion? And can I get all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Sounds like motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Robin, and thank you all very much. I am honored to serve the board and will do so to the best of my ability. During our meeting, if you all would, if you can, leave your cameras on where we can see your faces. And if you make a motion or a second, it would be great, especially if you're on Zoom, to give us your name beforehand. And also, I believe the staff has the chat open. So if you have any questions during the meeting, you can add those to the chat as well. But, open dialogue and discussion during these meetings is very helpful to all, and it is important as well. So the first order of business is to approve the February 10th board minutes. Everyone should have received those in your packet and reviewed those. Are there any questions regarding the February 10th meeting minutes? If not, can I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chairman, I'll make that said motion.
Thank you. Is that Mayor Curry?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor. Can I have a second?
This is Cassie Seltzer. I'll second.
Thank you, Cassie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. So under item agenda number 4, executive committee updates from March 10th, 22nd, and 30th. Our executive team met 3 separate times during March, and our primary focus was to go through John's first annual evaluation. So I'm just going to provide a brief summary of our topics that we discussed during those 3 meetings. John provided us an update on the fiscal agent request for proposal process, which he is going to cover later on during item number 7 of our agenda. John also presented the executive committee with 2 options for contracting an external auditor to independently review our compliance and stewardship of federal funds. The executive committee authorized John to request at least 2 proposals and enter in a non-competitive negotiation with a CPA firm, subject to the final approval of the board or the executive committee. John also provided the executive committee several operational updates to include the results of the nomination committee, the hiring of the new American Employment Navigator, which we discussed earlier, wage fringe survey results, compliance monitoring, and external funding for a full-time position at Fort Campbell. Also, per a request and contract amendment by the Kentucky Education and Workforce Development Cabinet, the executive committee approved the board to act as a conduit for payment of a statewide career edge on a month-to-month basis through June. And then finally, the executive committee, we were able to complete John's annual evaluation. And after a thorough review, we did find that John has done an outstanding job in his first year as president and CEO. John has been very agile in his role with a lot of challenges through COVID, natural disasters, and things like that. So he has displayed a creativity and resourcefulness when needed through challenges. And our overall performance rating, he met expectations, and the executive committee authorized a 3% pay raise for John. So that is all of the updates on the executive committee. And we'll just move on to item number 5 of the agenda, appointing the governance committee chair. Rebecca Stone, she is the president and CEO of Service One Credit Union. She has graciously volunteered to serve as the chair of our governance committee. So thank you very much for that, Rebecca. The governance committee, their primary role is to review and recommend updates to existing policies and or considering new policies. And that was something that we've talked about in our executive committee, that we really needed to get that going. And there were several policies that we wanted to update. And so by virtue of chairing the executive committee, Rebecca will also join us on that committee when we meet. So I would like to make a motion to nominate Rebecca to serve in this role. So is there anyone that would be a motion to approve?
Robin will make that motion to approve.
Thank you, Robin. Is there a second?
New York, I'll second.
Okay, thank you. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any
Aye.
opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you, Rebecca, for your willingness to serve, and look forward to working with you. Okay, moving on to item number 6 of our agenda, Wioa Direct Service Provider. Turn it over to John.
Okay. Thank you. So last year, we went through a request for proposal process to renew our Wioa Direct Services contract. And the way that the request for proposal and the contract were written was for the 1-year period of July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. You'll see on the left side of your screen, there's a kind of what the cover page says. So for that time period with an annual renewal option for up to 4 years. And so my request to the board today is to authorize renewal of the career team contract for the 1-year period of July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. On the screen, on the right side of the screen, I'm presenting 2 years worth of compliance and audit results with regard to the Department of Workforce Investment State Monitoring. Our PY19 results were excellent, which speaks to the quality service delivery and compliance with Department of Labor regulations and policies. We are currently in the middle of our PY20 state monitoring, which I'll talk to in a little bit more detail in a minute, but it's an interactive process. And so far, we've in this interactive process, we've had a back and forth, but it's all been very good. And I think we feel good about this monitoring as well. In terms of program year 20 performance, the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021, career team funded 80 participants plus subsidized, or they funded 80 participants through training plus subsidized 20 participants to participate in either a subsidized internship or a subsidized OJT under the Wioa contract. Additionally, career team has serviced 70 individuals under the National Dislocated Worker Grant, or COVID grant, as I like to call it. Under that grant, we've had 41 people that have been trained and 29 that have participated in subsidized internships or OJTs, with nearly $470,000 spent under that grant. So with that, we've been very pleased with the performance of career team and the service delivery that they've provided. So with that, I'd like to formally request the board to approve a 1-year extension of the career team Wioa Direct Service contract.
I'll make that motion, John. This is Beverly Ford.
Madam Chairman, I will need to abstain from this vote for potential conflict given my position here at SkyCTC.
Okay, thank you. John, I would like to add a comment if I can. Is there a possibility that we can see a 6-month performance review of that contract and possibly present that at our February board meeting next year?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay. So I have a motion by Beverly. Can I get a
the
second?
motion. This is Rebecca.
Rebecca, I'm sorry, Rebecca.
That's okay. Yeah, I second the motion with the addition of a report to me made in February next year.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
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 And any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, up to item agenda, or down to item agenda number 7, the update on the fiscal agent services contract.
Okay, thank you. During our February 10th board meeting, I let the board know that the fiscal agent services contract that we have with National Label concludes on June 30th of this year. For those of you that are new to the board, we do not directly hold or control the Department of Labor funding that we're allocated. The state law or the law states that we must utilize a fiscal agent to act as our accountant and our intermediary with this funding. And so they act as that intermediary between the Education Labor Cabinet, which holds the funds. And so all the financial transactions that we have funnel through our fiscal agent. And so they track it all, from an accounting perspective and from a accounts receivable, accounts payable perspective. And then they operate on a reimbursement system with the Education and Labor Cabinet. So anyway, with this contract expiring, we are in the process of going through a request for proposal process as we speak. And in fact, the proposals are due tomorrow, April 15th. And so all proposals should be in by tomorrow. What's going to happen next, or within the next 10 days, is that a selection committee that's comprised of Judge Buchanan, who is our chief local elected official, plus 3 other county judge executives, and our treasurer, Cassie Seltzer, will convene to review, score, and select the winning proposal. So just as a reminder, the fiscal agent services contract is actually, that's actually the purview of our judge executives, not of this board. And so our loan representation on that selection process, or on that selection committee, will be Cassie, who is our treasurer. So anyway, the proposals will be due tomorrow. We're working with the judge executives to nail down a time and a date for that selection committee to come together. They will do their thing, and then hopefully by May 1st, we'll be able to announce the winner of the next fiscal agent services contract. So pending any questions about that, I will go to agenda item number 8, which is annual external audit contract. Okay, agenda item 8. So on March 10th, the executive committee authorized me to request proposals and enter into a non-competitive negotiation with a CPA firm, subject to final approval of the board or the executive committee as presented. The board requested, so I requested proposals from 2 CPA firms for this external audit contract. I requested bids from Montgomery and Webb CPAs, who had done our external audit back in 2017. And I also requested a proposal from MCM CPAs, who conducted our external audit in 2018, 19, and then last year in 21. And what these external auditors do is they conduct an audit of the financial statements of the governmental activities in each major fund that we hold. So it's really, as I've explained to the board several times, we really get, in a sense, audited twice a year, every year. One of those is by the state. They look at our compliance, and they look at part of our financial or some financial compliance, and then we have external auditors who are an independent set of eyes as well. So the due date for the proposals was April 12th, just a couple of days ago. I did not receive any proposal from Montgomery and Webb CPAs. I did receive a proposal from MCM CPAs. And that was what was this. So this agenda item was the one that went out late last night with the MCM proposal attached. And MCM's proposal is to conduct the external audit for a price of $22,000 per year for the next 2 years, for 2022 and 2023. As I mentioned, MCM has conducted this external audit since 2018. They're very familiar with our organization. Over the course of the last 2 years, we have paid MCM $19,000 a year for this service. And so this newest proposal is a $3,000 increase in what we've paid over the previous 2 years. So with that, I'll entertain any questions and also ask that the board approve MCM to act as our external auditor for the next 2 years.
John, this is Rebecca. I have a question. You looked at 3 different auditors. What were the prices of the other auditors you looked at?
Rebecca, in the executive committee meeting that we had in March, there were 2 ways that we could do this. We could go through a formal RFP process That's the way I initially thought we had to do it, but as we dug into policy and we worked this with Regina Jackson, we realized that a specialized service like a CPA service, we can actually direct contract with. And so the executive committee was kind of presented with either a formal request for proposal process or just enter into direct contract. The executive committee decided, hey, let's go the latter and let's do a direct contract. But they asked me to solicit proposals from at least 2 CPAs, which I did. But I only received a proposal back from one of the 2. So MCM provided a proposal back. Montgomery and Webb did not respond to our request for a proposal.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other questions for John? No. If not, can I get a motion to approve?
This is TJ. I'll make the motion.
Thank you, TJ. Do I have a second?
Robin will second.
Thank you, Robin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, moving on to item agenda number 9, financial report with Colin. Thank you, Colin.
Good morning. I hope all is well. So I'm presenting our third quarter of our fiscal year financials. With 9 months, our fiscal year starts in July and goes through June. So with the first column C, we have our annualized budget, which is $2.48 million, what was approved at that time. And then year to date, revenue budget is 1.9. With the actually we spent 1.983, which is a favorable variance. We spent more in a sense that we got the more money during the year and spent in the area. So there's no restriction at this point for overspending, because as we all know that during the year we got some additional grants and what have you kind of thing. So that's it in our actual expenses, actual revenues. So the $41,000 the favorable variance because we got extra money during the year, and then we spent the money accordingly. So that's where all the expenses. The second line for a sub-grantee, which is a career team, they're spending, they are on target as well. And we all know that these are all the cost reimbursement contracts. So sometimes if you have the cost, then we can bill. If you don't have the cost, then you will bill later. But for this point, there's no risk for not billing anything for the year end and not leaving any, especially the Wioa dollars, not on the table. And the goal is to spend everything. And then based on the discussion John and I have very often, and then we do discuss that the money would be wisely used. And I don't see anything returning back for the Wioa for this fiscal year. So that's a total for sub-granting expenses. Then we have the board expenses. You can see that all is in favor for definitely controlling the expenses. We have the favorable variance in the expense as well. But again, these are all the cost reimbursement program, what we receive from the state. And then at the end of the day, we were expecting $81,000 based on the last year budget because we did not have all the information when we formalized the budget. But right now, we were able to bill everything to state and collect on a timely basis. So no risk for not, as I said, there's no risk for leaving anything, and then we are billing everything and collecting from the state. So the cash flow wise, we are fine as well. Any questions, any concerns on this?
Okay, if there are no questions on that financial report, can I get a motion to approve?
Madam Chair, Randall Curry, I make that motion.
Thank you, Mayor Curry. Do you have a second?
This is Cassie. I'll second.
Thank you, Cassie. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Motion carries. Thank you, Colin. Moving on to item agenda number 10, strategic goals.
Okay, I think I'm going to leave this off. So we're doing a little bit of a transition on the screen. So what we've been doing the last few years with you is as we go through each strategic goal, we throw up a slide that shows the strategic goal, all the sub goals underneath it with the rainbow red, amber, green bar. And it's a very busy slide. And so what we've done is we've tried to simplify that this go around, just kind of presented in the dashboard view all at once. And so what you're seeing is our current assessment of each of our strategic goals, and we're going to drill down into each strategic goal momentarily. But you can see, we're very rigorous on ourselves. We don't just think that everything's sunshine and rainbows all the time and put ourselves all the way to the right and say we're green in every category. So what you'll see on here under each strategic goal is kind of where we see ourselves. You can see the black dot is where we saw ourselves on January 1st. And then as we're going along this calendar year, you'll see that the black arrow kind of correlates to where we see ourselves at the end of March, and the blue arrow represents where we will see ourselves at the end of June based on all the planned activities that we've got. So we'll move this forward.
Now we're going to go on a ride.
Yeah, now we're going to go on a ride. Okay, so we're going to get into strategic goal number 1, and I'm going to turn it over to Leslie in a second. But let me just say this: I mean, visually, what you're seeing when you look at Talent Tuesday and Heroes Who Make America, those are the 2 agenda items that we're going to talk about today. But the backdrop of strategic goal number 1, everything on the bottom in those rectangular boxes are activities or programs or things that this board is doing in relationship to strategic goal number 1. And you're going to see that on every one of these strategic goal slides. This team is punching above its weight class. I mean, we are doing a lot of things on each one of these goals. We're only talking about 2 of them today for strategic goal number 1, but we are doing a lot of work in these other areas. And so I just kind of put that out there as context. Although we're going to talk about Talent Tuesdays and Heroes Who Make America, that is by no means the only activities that we've got going in relationship to how we actively engage employers and stakeholders and drive workforce solutions. So I'm out of breath. I'm going to give it over to Leslie to talk about Talent Tuesday.
Good morning, everyone. First, I'd like to begin with a question. How many of you, just by a show of hands or a thumbs up, how many of you have seen a graphic or video about Talent Tuesday on social media? Awesome, awesome. That's great. That is what we want. You may be a little bit curious as to why Talent Tuesdays actually started. They are a direct result of the summit feedback that we received from employers. Employers want what they're calling job fairs. They have requested that. And as a result, we have tried to create events that make results for employers. We have created the events also to better serve all of our counties. We're a 10-county region, and the design of Talent Tuesdays, it is to take this hiring event concept to every county, 1 county per month. So it is unique in that we're not just saying come to Bowling Green, we are going out to every county. And we're really trying our absolute best to produce results for employers. We knew that the typical job fair concept, we needed to energize it, we needed to be creative. So we are learning with every single event. We're trying to make it more productive. We're trying to get more people there, but I'm pleased to say that, we are definitely starting to see traction with these events. How are Talent Tuesdays different from a typical job fair? Number one, we encourage participants to register ahead of time. We give them incentives such as our last Talent Tuesday, the incentive was a $50 gas gift card. But by registering in advance, we can contact these individuals and say, hey, let's get your resume, get it up to date, get it to where it is in a great format for employers. It really helps to make the whole process much more beneficial if we can get these people ahead of time. So we're having them register in advance and we're trying to work with them in advance. The Talent Tuesday events are different from a typical job fair in that hiring is the goal. That is what we want from these events. It is not something where we just have people walking through and grabbing pencils and, whatever kind of swag the different employers might have. We have chairs in front of the employers' tables because we want conversations between job seekers and employers. It's also different from typical job fairs in that the value for employers continues after the event is over. And I will get to that with my next bullet point on numbers. So far, we have had 3 events, one in Warren County, one in Barron County, and most recently in Logan County. We've had 18 employers total participate in these events. And here are some of the I think, pretty impressive numbers. As far as videos, we have had 3,618 views of video ads promoting Talent Tuesday. This is not just people who have seen it on their screen. These are active views. So over a 3-month period, we're getting, over 1,000 per month. In addition, I have been creating employer videos on site during the Talent Tuesday events, and this helps to extend the value to employers because I'm asking them, what makes your company unique? What do you like best about your company? Then I'm creating 30-second videos for these employers. So and I'm running those on social media after the event. With those, we have an additional 4,221 engaged views. So in a 3-month time period, we have had 7,839 video views, active video views. And a lot of you all contributed to that number, and that's great. We want people to become familiar with the concept of Talent Tuesday. We want that, we want this to become a thing that people are very familiar with. Our next event will be in Butler County, and so we've already started the prep work on that. As far as individuals who have been hired, we are estimating somewhere between 6 to 8 people from the first 2 events. And we know we have prospects from the Logan County event as well. As far as stories, during the event in Barron County, 2 of Aaron Pointer's reentry clients were hired. So we're considering that a major success. Employers are hiring for advanced positions. The idea that and again, I'm saying job fair, but we're really wanting these to be known as hiring events. But typically people associate events like this with entry-level jobs. One of the positions from Barron County was an advanced engineering position at Smucker's. One of the positions at Logan County this week was for an HR leader. And they have an interview with an individual from our Talent Tuesday event this morning. So I'm anxious to see if she gets hired. I was told it's a $40 per hour position. So, you know, we're seeing some very positive and innovative results from these events. We've been recognized by corporate headquarters of some of these companies on social media. So we're getting national recognition from these events, and we've just had 3. So one person that I have to mention is Layla Nahanovich Besic. She has done a ton of work on these events, and I couldn't speak to them without giving her the recognition that she deserves. But I'm open to questions should you have any. But again, we're just getting started, but I think we are definitely off to a good start with these events.
All right. Thank you, Leslie. All right, let's go forward. We're gonna on the ride. Okay, on the roller coaster. Okay, Heroes Make America. You guys have been hearing me talk about Heroes Make America for the last couple of years. This you know, so far this spring, we've planned and facilitated our 8th and 9th Heroes Make America tours. So the Heroes Make America is a Fort Campbell program where separating service members get to go through a 15-week advanced manufacturing curriculum in preparation for, you know, getting out of the military and going to work in manufacturing. It's a Siemens curriculum, and they learn about, you know, production and maintenance and PLCs and a whole lot of other things that I can't even explain. But as part of the curriculum, the program manager likes to do field trips. And so we've been a partner with them from the beginning. And we try to volunteer our communities and manufacturers in our communities to host field trips. And so in March, the students went to Logan County. They toured Logan Aluminum, Emerson, and Rane light metal casting. And then the other thing that we do in the middle of the day is we find somebody to sponsor a networking lunch. And so Logan Lead graciously set that up and sponsored lunch. And we had Champion Pet Food and Rane and some other members of the community come out and speak to the students. And then we turned the networking lunch into a little bit of a speed dating where employers set up tables and the students can kind of, for a 45-minute period, can kind of move around and meet different employers, kind of very informally interview each other and perhaps exchange business cards or resumes. On April 1st, we brought this group into Warren County. They toured Stutbridge, Bendix, and Hinkle. There was also a networking lunch hosted by the Bowling Green Chamber. And that was attended by Bill Steen, RKW North America out of Franklin, and Hinkle. Judge Buchanan has always been very gracious. He always likes to come in and speak to the students as well as other members of the community and welcome them. And on the April 1st tour, you know, what was interesting is we also had, in addition to those students, we had members from the National Association of Manufacturers and the Manufacturing Institute out of DC, both out of DC, come in and participate in the tour. The Manufacturing Institute is actually the sponsor. They actually fund the Heroes Make America program. And so we're the only, there's multiple Heroes Make America programs at military installations across the United States, but we're the only workforce board and community that's doing work like this, where we're bringing students on tours. And it's not just a tour, it's a networking opportunity. It's getting to know our communities and hearing about our schools and our recreation and our shopping and our dining and all the things that make South Central Kentucky special. And so it was pretty cool that folks flew in from DC to see this, because they want to see this kind of replicated with other Heroes Make America programs across the country. All right, so that's my spiel on that. You guys have heard that one before, but we just continue to work that always generates good results. Okay, strategic goal number 2. I caught Matt off guard. Matt, over to you.
Okay. First, talk about the Now, this one's labeled as Allen County Scottsville High School Career Exploration Event. This will be really more about the events we have attended in high schools. What we're trying to do is be really intentional with lining up the students' interests to the employers and the employers' needs to the students. So this first one was at Allen County Scottsville High School. It was on March 8th. And we had brought in 48 employers from Allen County and then a few of the counties surrounding it. We had more than 1,200 students through that day. And as far as collateral progress, you see listed there, and that was really getting around and meeting with the employers to determine what their needs are, what opportunities they're going to have for not only the high school students, but college students and then adults as well. Other collateral progress there is we had an 8-person committee of former high school students there from a wide variety of occupations. We had a nurse, we had a state trooper, we had a couple ladies who own their own business. So students got to see firsthand that and the people gave good stories firsthand about how while their student experience may not have been the best during their high school career, they really turned into something and was making something of themselves to benefit the community. And they really talked about how they all wanted to get out of Scottsville, when they were in high school as well. But now there's no place they'd rather live. So they talked about, coming back to the community and doing good things for it.
Let me interrupt real quick,
Yep.
Matt. A bottom right picture shows one of those panel discussions that you
Oh,
led,
yeah.
and I got to see one of those, and it was one of the questions I think you asked them, what would you tell your younger self, right? And that was an interesting way to kind of get them thinking about how to take advice from former Allen County Scottsville High students.
Yeah, I really think that is probably the first time a lot of those students had heard such, I guess, blunt answers. So, I mean, it was good because it was honest, and it wasn't just fluff that they get sometimes. This is going to lead up to an event on April 27th, where they're inviting about 25 of those companies back. And like I said, we're being intentional with that. It's going to be 25 companies who have available positions that high school graduates can attain right now, right then. So not just a dog and pony show for companies, but actual, we'll hire you today. Down to attended at Monroe County High School, College, and Career Fair. We did that on March 31st. And these ones we're attending along with our direct service provider career team over at the Kentucky Career Center. And we are getting out and about and talking to each of the employers to find what opportunities they have, what needs they have. And we're also talking to the schools as we go out. So at Monroe County, we talked to the director of all the CTE programs and their college and career counselor to find out what pathways they had so that we can tap into those pathways to benefit employers in the future and to see what else we can build upon there. Glasgow High School was yesterday. It was the same thing. It's really getting out and talking to employers in addition to the students. At all of these, our focus has been providing students with information on college if they're interested in that. But really, we've been trying to identify those seniors who have determined that they don't want to go to college. They don't necessarily want to go to work, but they know they don't want to go to college. So we're trying to find what they have an interest in and push them towards some short-term trainings so that we can get them tapped into something instead of just disappearing right after high school. Ones we have coming up, the supported down there at the bottom, Barron County High School senior hiring event. Again, it's going to be very intentional. We've got about 50 employers who have opportunities directly related to the pathways. This covers a much bigger area of employers, all of Barron County, Warren County. I know there's some Monroe County coming up. So we're trying to touch as large of a geographical area as possible with these. That one will be on April 29th, and there will be a follow-up event to that on May the 18th, which is a sign. It's called the signing day. And what we're going to showcase there is those students who have joined the military, those students who gained employment through these events or recently, so that we can highlight them as well. A lot of what John has been talking about lately is pride in work, and we think that's what we're missing. So we're trying to show those students that, like, there's pride in this too. You know, they have multiple sports banquets a year, but there's something to be said about those students going and doing something else as well. So that's really our aim there. Bowling Green, Warren County, Edmonson County, Franklin Simpson High School hiring event. That is going to be at Greenview High School on Friday, May the 6th. And that one's going to be very intentional as well. We have 20 employers now that all have opportunities for students exiting high school. So again, very intentional with connecting the students with the needs of the employers.
Yeah, I just said Matt is doing some phenomenal work at our area high schools. Matt and Jasmine from Career Team, they're doing phenomenal work, and we're really helping fill a gap and sometimes that gap's not recognized. There's an assumption. I think there's an assumption that high school career counselors and the folks that are doing the career pathway programs just automatically have relationships with our employer community, and that's not the case. And Matt is really able to kind of bring employers and facilitate employers to come in and meet with students and vice versa. So we're really proud of the work that he and Jasmine have been doing this year. It's been phenomenal.
Yeah, so and I'll add too that just like John was talking about for strategic goal number 1, even though that one's our focus. So as we go through each of these goals, we're going to give you the employment kind of seasoning and flavor that we're bringing to these strategic areas, but this will be our focus for the next board meeting. So we'll show more about the outcomes, the numbers, attendees, the things like that we're tracking. But yeah, we're definitely doing work. He's extremely busy. He never had an office really here at the board office anyway, but even then it would be pointless because he's always out and about in the community and somewhere else and has a very mobile office. So he's coming to a high school near you is probably the tour announcement we can make. But yeah, moving on into the next important topic and progress that's significantly happened here in the last quarter is our heavy equipment sciences pathway, which again, Matt's been the shining light to really lead a lot of what, as far as the energy and effort our board has been able to bring to the table on this project. And so Matt, if you can kind of give them the rundown here.
Yep. So in June of 2021, the chamber invited us in on a heavy equipment steering committee they had. I guess just to see how we could fit in, what we could bring to the table. Really from that first meeting, the idea of career pathways at the high school and the college was born. The college meaning Sky CTC. What a career pathway is just a program that a student can opt to go into that teaches them a specialization. There's carpentry, there will now be heavy construction, there's allied health, there's welding, industrial maintenance, all kinds of stuff. So, we brought to the table, let's do these pathways. Part of the pathways was bringing in simulators for training. As a lot of the students' school year is, we can't really plan on the weather being great. So this would be an indoor option that would actually count as seat time, and students could get into these and gain experience. We were working with 8 companies, 8 construction companies, Sky CTC, WKU, Warren County Schools, Bowling Green Independent Schools, and the Chamber. We successfully, we were awarded the grant for $392,000. That'll purchase 4 simulators that'll teach students both the excavator and the bulldozer. Those have been ordered, will be ordered here shortly. We plan for those to come in during the month of May and getting that lab space set up at the Warren County ATC. Some of the commitments from our partners, the companies, the construction companies and the vendors have agreed to loan out 6 pieces of heavy equipment that'll be no older than 2 years old at a time. So it's 2 bulldozers, 2 excavators, and 2 articulated dump trucks. And really, as the program grows and companies start seeing results, we expect that those kind of in-kind donations will only grow. The chamber has agreed to let us use up to 100 acres of land. We're going to use 10 of it up front. We don't think any more than that's going to be needed. And then Warren County Schools, we're actually meeting with them today to fund an instructor for the program for the next several years.
I can kind of pick it up from here if you need me to, Matt. We had been invited into this project. And so, basically what we could offer was not just listening to the employers, which is exactly, again, the theme of what we want to present here, is that this was a project that was conceived last summer, or a need that was brought forward last summer by a local chamber of commerce to say they've got, and we did the data dig, and, Matt and John found that these are, very much in demand. Obviously, everything's being built these days and not fast enough. And so there is a shortage of workers, and the tornadoes that rip through prove that even when you need it in an emergency, they've got to come from out of state, sometimes several states over, to fix our roads and our electric poles and all of that stuff, and just clean up. So we've been able to, through special funding, get these simulators. It wasn't the full ask amount. We asked for more, but this is what was awarded. And so, yeah, Matt's very much, he researched the simulators, he researched the program that had done this elsewhere in the Commonwealth, but we didn't have this option of a sort of a hybrid learning environment, and something that was set up for both students and adults. And so one of the things our state wanted to see was interest, not just from employers. They wanted to know that participants would actually want to go through this. So Matt put together a survey, and Matt, I'll let you talk. The numbers are there on the screen of that.
Yeah, sure. So the survey was sent out to students and parents of Bowling Green and Warren County Schools, and then a couple of the surrounding counties that expressed interest in participating. From that, we got 4,061 responses. 644 students and 42 parents said they wanted to participate in the program. So a lot of the students that answered were seniors. So that information we've given to our partner SkyCTC for a list of potential participants in their program. And then we were left with about 511 students who want to participate in the coming school years. And we have to whittle that down between the CCRs to about 40 students a year, as that's all there's space for currently.
Comment came in, but I can't read it.
Yep.
Let me see what the comment
This is great stuff. Good job pulling this together.
Yeah, so this has now been like a 10-month project. So this is sort of an example of, we wanted it to happen in 10 weeks or 10 days, right? Like, and it took 10 months, but it takes persistence with these things.
My perspective, that getting this grant it was the most difficult grant process. It was like a 12-round fight with the state. I shouldn't use the word fight, but we went back and forth and back and forth and back and forth with the state on this. And we had to, it was arduous, but we got it. We got $390,000. We haven't really done any public announcements. We just got the money. We're in the process. The simulators, that order is being processed right now. And I think, I think there's still some more work to do to get this, to come to fruition, to stand up this program this fall at the Warren County ATC. There's still, the steering committee has to reconvene, and all these verbal agreements to donate equipment and to maintain equipment and to get in, and who's going to fund instructors. Part of what has to happen next is moving from these verbal commitments to, okay, let's get some stuff in writing, and all these different partners are going to pour into this. So this really is an example of a lot of different people coming together a lot of different organizations, 8 employers coming together to figure this out. And those 8, that committee met every 2 weeks, all through the summer and the fall, and there were a lot of discussions about, not, if you have people coming through this program, we can't steal from each other. We can't, a lot of these companies compete against each other, but they didn't want to compete on this. I mean, everybody was kind of putting their own personal differences aside. It was like, say, we have got to figure out how to make this work for South Central Kentucky. So, and these 8 major employers, I mean, they're getting contracts. I mean, they draw workers from our whole region. And they do work in probably a 200-mile radius of Warren County, if you will. And so this is, even though it might look like it's Warren County flavored, these companies are going to, the Warren County ATC takes students from Edmonson County and can take students from other counties with this program. So anyway, it's off to a good start. We got what we wanted. Now we've got to make sure the rest of this program comes together, and that's what we're going to be focused on this summer.
Yeah, we definitely want to give props to Matt. I know he's going to have to scoot here, but thank you, Matt, for all your hard work and effort and late nights and number crunching.
Since Matt has to leave, I'd like to offer the opportunity for yourself and eventually maybe some students. The Cabelco facility in Greenville, South Carolina, will make the excavators, and they have what we're creating here on site, a training facility with some simulators and a yard. More than welcome to see that. And if you have someone who'd like to see the process of making, maybe generate some ideas or something like that, but we can definitely set that up. I found it really interesting to go in there and watch those guys. I wanted to get on one, just was not permitted, but love for you guys to see that.
Thank you.
Yes, you.
Yeah, great. All right, well, we'll move into strategic goal number 3, and we're just moving right along here. So again, this barely scratches the surface. It feels like if we had to summarize, it's kind of into these buckets here. But again, we've mentioned how we have Anna who has started, and John's going to speak to another position that's going to come on board here, and continuing to get statewide focus and spotlight to put a pilot together, basically a how-to book for local communities that Aaron with our reentry program has been very heavily involved in, as far as with a Kentucky Workforce Innovation Board initiative called Putting Kentuckians First that we've spoken to in the past. Obviously trying to deploy our special tornado grant and assisting people with Wioa powered services there, and continuing to look at how we can expand the internship and OJT opportunities that we have. And then of course the Talent Tuesdays as far as incenting workforce participation and reaching specific pockets of people. So jumping right in here to the workforce participation working group, I'll let John kind of set the preface for this.
Sure. So, I mean, last fall, we did a series of workforce summits. We deployed out across the region. We did 4 summits in a week, really focused on workforce participation. And we had some good, there was a lot of good feedback that came through that mechanism. But on the heels of that, in early December, Judge Buchanan reached out to a number of folks in the community and wanted to convene a workforce participation working group. And of course, we were invited into that. And then subsequently, now we kind of lead that up. We've been kind of leading that effort. So this working group, we've been meeting every 3 weeks. You can see who the attendees are as part of this working group. And what we're really trying to do is figure out, like, we have a severe workforce shortage, and it's region-wide, it's statewide, it's national, but we have got to solve, we're trying to roll up our sleeves and solve it. What can we do to get more folks inspired to get back into the workforce? What pockets can we get into? There's conversations about can we recruit talent into the region, from outside the region into the region. So there's a lot of ideas going on to figure out how do we get after this, and how do we solve our own problems. And so there's several initiatives going on. Some of them are not being led by us, but the 3 things you see there at the bottom are the things that have been the most impactful to the workforce board. So we're gonna deep dive into those pretty quickly. So I'll turn it back over to Brian.
Sure. So one of the things that we started doing, and Frank is our one-stop operator, can kind of flip the switch onto, was collecting feedback from people, because we've talked about it since last summer and probably long before that. why aren't people working? What's going on with at least the ones that are claiming unemployment insurance? And so we don't have purview over everybody who's unemployed, like officially, like not working, but as far as those that are claiming unemployment benefits or trying to claim those, much of the process has been service over the phone or in person. Those are the people we can get feedback from. And so two different types of data that we're now trying to collect since about mid-February there you see, and up to yesterday. So this is sort of, 2-month snapshot here out of the ones that are not working. So there's more people that we've surveyed, but we're trying to find out of the ones that when they came in, answered they were not working, what their barriers were. Well, there's the things we always hear about transportation and childcare. Those reflect lower on this, but we've also had to kind of consider these are people that made it in person. So transportation may not be a barrier if you were able to get somewhere. And this is Bowling Green and Glasgow, Kentucky Career Centers. We don't have these in all 10 counties, right? Buildings where people can come to. And so this is something that we're trying to integrate into a larger intake process with everybody that we talk to and provide service to, is to capture this information. But currently we're capturing it from walk-ins and people that have appointments at the career centers. And so it looks overwhelmingly that there's no barriers to the folks that are unemployed. Now, when you flip over to what are their preferences, what would it take to get you back into the workforce? Higher wages is, half, nearly half of the responses that we see there. And it's included in the combination of the above. Almost all of the ones that have more than one reason still include higher wages. So it's predominantly the thing that people are shopping around for right now. But in addition to that, there's some other, just personal preferences as far as benefits, flexible time off, feeling valued and respected by their employer and other employees. Those again are all reflected in that combination of responses there. So again, nearly 800 people. This is just over a 2-month window that have come in person. This is what they're telling us, but this is feedback we can give to employers. This is feedback we can present to you as board members, to anybody in our community that wants to nail down. And as I said, we've talked about this in other meetings. What's holding people up? Is it benefits? Is it the fear of losing their benefits? Well, you can see only 21 people said that if they would lose their benefits would be a barrier for them to jump back into work. That's relatively low out of 760 people. So there's other things going on here, and it seems like other incentives that maybe are, they're open to. But again, this is only capturing people that have transportation, or maybe somebody could watch their kid while they came in. And so we know there's a whole audience that can't even get to this form right now and get to a career center.
So Brian, just to be clear, the 760 people represents people that came to the career centers for unemployment assistance and were not working, right? Because what we see, and the other, it's not on here, but about half the people that come in for unemployment assistance are working. And then then half are not. So really, you see 760 over this time period, but it was probably double that the number that came in for unemployment. Right. Those that are already employed, we scrape that off to show you what the unemployed folks who aren't working are saying.
Correct.
So, and this is just part of the larger, we're really trying to understand, we're trying to understand locally, what are the issues? What are the motivations? What are the barriers? What's prohibiting you? And so, so you see a snapshot of it. And we've got to continue to kind of collect this and see what kind of trends. And the other part of what we've got to do, I guess the next phase of this deployment of these survey questions is baking them into the people that reach out to us online. Because we suspect that the people that answer these questions online, we will probably see an uptick of people's highlighting transportation and childcare as issues. So
yeah,
we're on the front end of this.
Yeah,
we're going to continue to try to figure this out.
Any feedback questions on that? Yes.
Could you go back to that last slide? So I thought it was interesting. Over half, well, I guess right at half said higher wages. And I wonder if we have any information on what that looks like, because there are positions open anywhere from $8 an hour up to $30 an hour. So that higher wages is relative. If we could, find those people that are current or their past job was $10 an hour and they're looking for 15 and, pair them up compared to those people that need $30 an hour. Like, I guess it would be nice to have a little more information. What does higher wages look like for this group? Do we have any of that data or?
So I think the way we can come at that, Gretchen, because that's an excellent point, is to make sure that we are informing them, because I think they're just not clear and aware of what opportunities are available at your place, at other places, right? So it's like saying, I'm going to drive a car that's a Lexus and I'm not going to consider anything lower than that. I mean, there's good deals to be found. There's other quality factors that go into things. So I think we've got to be able to make them aware of these opportunities, and it's getting their attention and fully tracking that. So that's another thing on the back end of our process, is to make sure they can't leave a career center without knowing exactly the higher wages that they may be seeking that are accessible to them.
And what is the current process for posting or advertising jobs with a career center? Because my understanding is we're not using the antiquated site that has been there for years. So what is the method for getting those positions?
Gretchen, great question. So the state's official platform, which is called Focus, it is antiquated, and the state is actually in the middle or getting ready to start a request for proposal process to replace that. And so in the meantime, we're, if you come in, I mean, we're just kind of, our career counselors, our folks that work with people. I mean, if they say they need help finding a job, we're going to use some of the common platforms that are out there, Indeed, Career Builder, et cetera. There's also, and this is part of this workforce participation initiative. It wasn't something that we conceived or voted on or were involved in, but the city of Bowling Green and Warren County are building out a new website that's free to employers. It's called bowlinggreenworks.com, but it's open to more than just Bowling Green, Warren County employers. But if you're an employer in our region and you want to put yourself onto that platform, it's free. We can introduce you to Crowd South, who's got the contract to do all that. But so that's another mechanism besides Indeed, besides Career Builder. That's another thing that our staff can utilize. They can look on there and see what's available. And
that Bowling Green Works, is that what you called it?
Bowling Green Works, yeah, bowlinggreenworks.com.
To Gretchen's question too, I think one key piece of data on what is higher wages would be considered the UI benefit to stay home plus the gas, get to work, and then is it worth it? I mean, when this is all folks that are applying for that, right, or receiving that. So that's one target. I assume when we hear higher wages, that's what they're looking for there.
Yeah, it's all about giving them opportunity, I think. And when John mentioned that we were able to connect two folks that are in recovery or re-entering individuals with jobs at the Barron County Talent Tuesday, the feedback they gave Aaron was, I never thought I could make this much money. But they showed up, or we contacted them and asked that they show up. So we had to play matchmaker. So that effort still has to happen. Just like I don't know the deal on the used cars until I show up at the dealership, but I can complain there's no cars, but I gotta go ask, and I gotta have somebody look me in the eye and tell me, or at least call me by phone and shoot me an offer. When people say one thing and they're not talking to the right people, we want them to access our system. We want them to access our partners and wants to do this professional work, which actually leads right into the next point. So one of the things that we really didn't have good visibility on is something that we would say is the talent supply. And again, we don't know everybody who's out there without a job, and they're not on some kind of WhatsApp group. They're not on some kind of, like Facebook group. Sometimes they are, and sometimes we all are, but it's trying to get an understanding out of the professional service agencies who are in this space. How many people are they seeing? And so we've started to try to collect that feedback. This happened about 4 or 5 years ago, and it was sort of done in a more aggressive manner where personal identifiable information was being requested. We're not doing that. We're asking for just total activity, sort of breaking it up between how many new job seekers are you seeing? How many are you still working with that have carried over? How many can you confirm were placed into employment? And how many would you kind of designate as not ready and need to be referred elsewhere? And so this is just one snapshot from January when we first started doing this. On the right, you see the partners that we were sort of going after to collect this information. What you don't have on here is, you know, like a major university like WKU. I mean, how many people go through their career services office? We haven't got there yet, but these are the other entities that we know either as their main function or a part of what they do is working with job seekers and keeping track of this information. And so Crown Staffing is listed as one of the staffing agencies that came on board in January when we started to do this. If we could have all of the staffing agencies, and there's a ton, right, that are contractually, you know, doing this work for companies and just working with job seekers, we would have some sense of, you know, how many people are out there using the professional services. But we need more people to use the professional services, and we need to feature the stories of success, that these are not dead-end jobs or just, you know, entry level, that these are exciting opportunities that people can get, and that people would say I never knew, I've used it, oh my gosh, everybody should use it. That's exactly what we want to put back out into the community, so that more people can come through the pipelines here and get into good paying jobs, good jobs with benefits, flexible, you know, whatever their preferences are, there's plenty for the taking.
If I could just add, I mean, maybe say what Brian said a little bit differently. You know, we in terms of the workforce shortage that we're dealing with, we know the scope of the problem from the lens of employers. We know roughly how many open jobs there are in the region. What nobody really knows is how many actual job seekers are out there. And that's a tough nut to crack because people have individual choice. You know, to Brian's point about professional services, there are folks coming in to get professional services from all these various partners, whether they're staffing agencies or other nonprofits. There's also a whole community of people that outsource their career advice on Facebook, and they never come see anybody that can really help them, right? But that's a reality. I mean, that's what people are doing. They're sitting on the couch on Facebook and going to, you know, pick a county, the Barron County jobs page, and saying, hey, I'm looking for a job. Who's got advice? And then they get advice, and it might be good advice, it might be bad advice. Regardless of the advice, they may not have a good resume. They may not have the skills needed. So there's a lot of dynamics going on, but what we're trying to do here is very aspirational. We're asking all the folks that have a hand in helping people get employment, whether they're for-profit staffing services or they're nonprofits, we're asking them to volunteer information for the greater good. Can you tell us a raw number of how many new people you're seeing, how many are existing, and so that we can start to understand how big is that pool?
However, either.
Yeah, how big is the pool of job seekers are out there? What does that look like? And so if there's 8,000 openings, but we have 5,000 job seekers, then we have a 3,000 person delta, and we got to, and then you know that's what we're, you know, we got to solve for that 3,000 person delta, and solve for the 5,000 people that are looking. You know what, we got to drill down into those 5,000 and figure out like what's going on there.
And another thing that I know we probably mentioned before that we could always use more help with is from employers, that they can reverse refer people. So if you're not going to move forward with somebody, if you've had incomplete applications, if you're sending out some kind of a standard message. For example, I talked to one employer at a Talent Tuesday this week, says that they have people in the front office that will come meet people and help them fill out an application. Well, not every business has that capability or is doing that, but that's what you get when you can go to the Career Center or, you know, connect with some of these programs. Some of these are very specific audiences and, you know, focus areas, how people qualify or how they provide service. Other ones are more general and open. You know, I've heard somebody say before, we don't just help with entry level, we can help somebody get an $80,000 job. I mean, that's the type of thing that if somebody's in a middle management kind of lost, having dead ends on Indeed, do they know that these places are viable options to go to, and that there's a system that can do this. And so the other part of this is trying to help inform everybody on the great opportunities and being able to know we've got places that are reentry friendly, places that'll hire with maybe limited English speaking skills, with limited work history, or you know, skill levels or college degrees, all these things. We've got to be able to share this information and talk to each other more in order to move the needle on this.
All right, again, aspirational, but we're working towards it. The last piece here, here's a good piece of news. One of the other things that's come out of this workforce participation working group is a recognition that there is a huge talent supply pipeline 70 miles from here at Fort Campbell. 5,000 service members a year getting out. Another 3,000, they're 60% of them are married, so roughly 3,000 very talented military spouses. So there's a large talent supply pipeline down there. And that this board, we've been very active at Fort Campbell. We've been very engaged, but we do it from here. We don't have anybody down there. We don't have somebody really promoting our region. And so the Warren County Fiscal Court and the city of Bowling Green basically said, hey, look, we want somebody down there, and we're gonna give you, John, we're gonna give your workforce board money to hire somebody and put them down there full time. And so that has happened. We've been given the money. We've actually just wrapped up our interviews last week, and a job offer was made yesterday. And it was accepted yesterday. So we're going to get a very highly qualified individual who's going to be down there in the Army Transition Center Monday through Friday, and he's going to be promoting our region and our career opportunities and our quality of life. And he's going to be, I see that person's job, and by extension, the workforce board. We're going to bring service members to the doorstep of employers, and it'll be incumbent upon the employer to make a decision whether they hire them or not. But we are going to do our level best to bring separating service members to your doorstep. And so that's the charge. So the offer was extended and accepted yesterday, and this person is actually going to start on Monday, the 25th. We'll spend a good week or so getting that person. They'll spend their time up here learning this community and meeting people and getting to know folks. And really by early May, they're down there full time, hooking and jabbing inside that career center, talking, and pushing people our direction. So that's the plan. So this is this is really kind of the first time we've got funding from an external entity to do something like this, to hire staff in this way. So it's again, going back to my comment about Anna, when we wrote the strategic plan 3 years ago, transitioning military veterans, military spouses was a focus of ours. And we're finally, getting to the point where we can put somebody full-time against that focus population. We're very excited about it.
All right, and we'll go over to strategic goal 4, again, a plethora of activities, and I know we'll have an action item here, so.
Yeah, I'm not going to talk about all these things on the bottom. There's a lot of administrative things that we do all the time. There's a lot of things in the works that we're juggling, but the quick update is monitoring. Again, I mentioned we get looked at several times a year for monitoring, auditing. It's you can use those words interchangeably. Right now, as I mentioned previously, we are in the midst of a monitoring by the Department of Workforce Investment of our Wioa funding. That just started a couple of weeks ago, and I don't know when it'll be complete. Last year they started in February, and we got our final report in July. But most of the monitoring is done remotely. For everybody that's new, whenever we take somebody and we bring them, if we take a participant and we qualify them for Wioa dollars, and we put them through, we fund them to go to CDL, or we fund them to go into training, or we fund them to do a work experience or an on-the-job training, and we're subsidizing that. By law, we don't only pay for it, by law, we have to case manage and follow that person for 12 months, following the training. So there's very intensive case management that comes along with that. And there's a mountain of compliance that goes along with it. And so this monitoring is really looking at our compliance, of how well we case manage our files. Are we checking every box? Are we dotting every I, crossing every T? It's the federal government. So it's there's a lot that goes on there. Luckily between career team and Jessica and our team, we make it look pretty easy, but it's a lot. So anyway, we're getting looked at there. There's a financial component to that look. But so that Wioa monitor is going on, as I mentioned before, it's very interactive. They'll call up and say, hey, or they'll send an email saying, hey, we can't find this or that. And normally it's there. We just have to tell them where to find it. If it's not there, we have it on file and we send it. We feel pretty good about it. But what will happen is at some point here soon, hopefully, the state will publish initial results. And they'll say, okay, workforce board, career team, you need to, here are issues we identified. What say you? And we have an opportunity to kind of respond to that, resolve it, contest it. And that'll go back to them. And then they'll make a determination on whether they accept the resolution or our narrative explanation and issue a report. Last year, we came back with a really good report, and we're feeling good about where we stand this year. The other monitoring that's going on is, again, we have this special COVID grant right now. It's the National Dislocated Worker Grant. That one is a little bit further along. So that one started in February. Right now, they just a couple of days ago, they sent us the initial results. They kind of identified 5 things that we need to respond to. Right now, they're pretty technical. They have to do with how the case management system, the CRM platform, it's very technical in that when we follow people, we have to do case notes. And for some reason we're doing the case noting, but the dates aren't in alignment with the policy. And somehow the system, anytime you go into the system, it's stamping it with today's date, even though the case note might have been made 5 months ago. From their standpoint, it's like, hey, why did you case something? Why is it case noted today when it was done 5 months ago? They can't see that. So we're having to work through that. But the bottom line is the case notes are there. We're good in that regard. It's just how it's getting time stamped. So we're having to work through that with the state. Again, that's technical more than you probably want to know. But I feel good about that, and we'll see when we get those results. And obviously we'll report on as both of these complete, we will report back to the board the results of this monitoring. Okay. Barring any questions there, we'll move it forward. So I think we're back to final questions and discussion.
Did you do that first?
Leslie, I got you. Yeah, so we carved out a little bit of time to see if there were any comments, discussion, questions that board members had.
So we've talked about a lot of different things, all directed toward helping employers. What are you more curious about? What do you have questions about? Some of the things that we have talked about today.
I look forward to you guys celebrating young people going to work and getting the certifications as much as these schools take pride in their sports. Because I feel like, being a former athlete, that was awesome. But I think the people that went into the technical trainings or straight to work should have been celebrated as well, because that's what keeps our country going. So, we're celebrating the entertainment aspect, but we're not celebrating with those young people the parts that keep our country going. So I look forward to seeing that. I look forward to you guys making it a big spectacle, and these young people taking pride, just as much pride in, WKU as Cabelco. Having that pride in doing an honest day's work, being paid for it, and bringing up a family in South Central Kentucky. I look forward to that.
I think we found our guest speaker.
That's right.
Yeah. And that's coming from a sports fan. So yeah.
Yeah.
And a child and a youth advocate for sure. Yeah.
No doubt.
What else sticks out to you? And it doesn't necessarily have to be a question. Any comments? I appreciate Chad speaking up.
Yes, this is Mike Hughes, the city of Auburn. I'd like to thank John for presenting to the Kentucky League of Cities Member Services Committee. It's a statewide committee, and John did an excellent job presenting his mission or our mission and goals and the way our structure is in our business. And I want to tell you, thank you for that, John. You did an excellent job, and you stimulated a lot of thought processes around the state. I think there's a lot of questions being asked and good constructive questions being asked about workforce development and different things and how it's being handled in different areas. And I want to tell you how much I appreciate that and the professionalism that you showed. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate that. I mean, this is not something we really talk about a whole lot here, but there's 10 workforce boards in the state, and the thing that struck me from since the beginning, since I joined workforce 3.5 years ago, is how very differently workforce development is done across the Commonwealth. It is what it looks like in other parts of the state is vastly different than what it looks like here. And I'm not saying it's good or bad.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, but I will say, I mean, we're trying to be super innovative. We try to put the I in Wioa. Wioa is Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act. We are trying to be inventive in everything that we do. And sometimes we swing and we miss, and sometimes we swing and we hit a single or a double. But we're trying to serve our region as innovatively as we can. And so anyway, that's Mayor, you gave me a segue to brag on ourselves a little bit, but thank you for the kind words.
Well, it's pretty easy to do when it made an impression like you made. And I want to tell you, if the consensus of that board's any meaning to you, you're doing a lot good. And if nothing else, you've stimulated their thought process to ask a lot of really good questions of their boards and see where they're headed and what their goals are, how they're performing. And I think a lot of us are guilty in elected office of saying, I guess that's being handled okay, and not knowing for sure whether it is or not. And I think these questions that are being asked, they'll know now. So, and the feedback I've gotten is they're really glad they're asking those questions. So it's, I think maybe we'll see an improvement statewide, hopefully, out of this. So you're going to be held up as an example though, John. Does that bother you?
No, thank you. That's fine. Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Making me blush. I would rather deflect and hold my team up as an example, because this is an incredible team.
And Mayor, this is Brian. I want to say, I heard your name several times here in the last couple of weeks. I want to thank you for giving us a leads on employers. I know not all materialized into that Talent Tuesday there in Logan County this week, but that's exactly the type of participation we need from elected officials that are hardworking, that you can see the value of plugging in here and open doors and have your own personal influence there used in that manner. So thank you for your efforts.
Welcome. I appreciate you guys reaching out. Thank you so much. And hopefully it was beneficial, and continue to reach out. If we wear those employers out enough, they'll participate.
All right, if there are no further comments, I will turn the floor back over to John.
Well, I mean, agenda item 12 is public comment, so the mayor just did that. Any other public comments? All right, hearing none, I will turn it back over to our newly installed chairwoman, Treva.
Thank you very much. Thank you all so much for your time and attention today. Our next meeting is scheduled for June 9th, and you will get more details on that meeting in the upcoming weeks. If there's no further business, anyone have anything else to add before we close out? Okay. If not, today's meeting is now adjourned. Thank you all so much. Have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.